Hello everyone and welcome back. I have to introduce another scooter to you, an incredibly impressive and awesome electric scooter called the K20 Pro. It's a truly fantastic option for your daily city commute at a really good price, so please stick with me. This review won't be any different from my previous ones, so first we'll unbox it, assemble it, I'll go over the full specifications, show you the scooter from the outside, and at the end I'll talk about what it was like to use. So let's dive right into all the details together. The unboxing and assembly. It's actually super simple because you really don't have to assemble anything. Everything is already on the scooter. The only thing you need to put on is the handlebar. Everything else is already installed. So basically all you have to do is make the necessary adjustments and check the brakes. Obviously in the long run it's worth doing a more thorough greasing and other maintenance, since this is a Chinese scooter and the Chinese tend to skimp on these things before shipping. So you need to take it apart a bit, then put it back together a bit. Put it back together and you can already start using it. So what can this scooter do? Well, this scooter, although it doesn't look exactly the same, is actually not much different from the Ausom K20 Pro I presented in one of my previous tests, because it inherited the motor, it inherited the rear suspension, it inherited the brake, the handlebar, the controls. Basically it inherited everything. The only real difference between the two scooters is that this one is a bit shorter, and at the front it doesn't have a C-type suspension. But instead it has proper dual-sided shock absorbers. The brakes, of course, are disc brakes, specifically mechanical disc brakes. The net weight of the scooter is 26 kilograms, and it contains a relatively large 860 watt-hour battery, which is 48 volts and exactly 18 ampere hours. The manufacturer claims that it can go 60 to 70 kilometers on a single charge, which is obviously not true, but I'll talk more about that later. The wheels are 10-inch. The motor, of course, is located directly within the rear wheel. What's interesting to note is that it doesn't come equipped with rugged off-road tread tires, but rather features slick city tires. These are specifically hard compound tires designed primarily for asphalt or other paved surfaces, so this is truly a genuine, dedicated city scooter. Naturally, the entire frame can be easily folded down, and since it's relatively compact and the overall wheelbase isn't too long at all, it can comfortably fit crosswise in the trunk of a standard station wagon. It fits in very comfortably, so it's also great for putting it in the trunk, parking in a P+R lot, taking it out there and continuing your journey by scooter. The 26 kilograms is actually a bit borderline in terms of weight, because you can still manage to carry 26 kilograms, but obviously you're not going to want to run up to the 4th floor with it. In the same way, you can get on a tram or a bus with it, but it's not very comfortable. The handlebars are relatively wide and you can't fold them down, so this isn't really a scooter designed for public transport. But if you really have to, you can still manage it. I don't want to go into more specifications. Instead, I'll show you the whole structure from the outside, and then I'll talk about the things I haven't mentioned yet. Okay, so let's take a look at what the structure looks like from the outside. As I mentioned, this is a fairly compact and portable scooter. And as I said, the front tire is specifically a slick 10-inch one, so it's not the larger 11-inch wheel, which is actually absolutely ideal and sufficient for city commuting. The brake is mechanical, and of course on the other side at the back, the brake is also mechanical. The suspension and shock absorption are in the usual place here as well, but at the front wheel, thank goodness, we don't get the usual single arm suspension, but instead we have a relatively simple wheel suspended on both sides. The good news is that the folding mechanism works really easily, though I won't fold it down now because it would fall on my foot. So the point is it works perfectly smoothly, and that's really good news. You will notice that the charging port is located way up here rather than in the usual spot on the side, so there's much less chance of water accidentally getting in. The footboard itself isn't particularly big, but my foot, which is about size 43 to 44, still fits quite comfortably, especially if I make use of the relatively large heel support. I should also point out here that there is absolutely no covering on the footboard. It is just made of hard plastic, which will probably be quite slippery when you are riding in wet weather. It might be a bit slippery, even though there's a bit of ribbing here, but it definitely would have been better to put some rubber on it, if only because this hard plastic will probably get scratched up pretty quickly. It's not too conspicuous, but I should mention that the size of the rear fender is really good. You will find that no water will splash up here. It's become a little bit dusty already. We have our rear light, and there's also a license plate holder. So if you need a license plate in some country, you can simply stick a small standard sticker here. Speaking of the light, While we are looking closely at the light, this rear lamp obviously isn't just for indicating your position on the road, but it also serves as an effective brake light for added safety. If we turn on the device now, you can immediately see the NFC cards right here, which you can use to turn it on with a simple tap. And by holding down this button for a moment, we can switch on the main light. So it works perfectly as a regular light like this. But of course, it can also function as a bright brake light when I pull the brake lever now. Since we are already talking about the lighting options, now there are two more important things I really need to show you. One is that there is a vibrant colored blue light strip located right on the side, which looks really cool in the dark and definitely makes you much more noticeable to drivers. And the very last lighting related topic is, of course, the front light. It is not the usual 4 LED setup we often see. There is nothing particularly interesting or unusual about it at all. Now let's take a closer look at the handlebars. Actually, as I mentioned before with the previous Ausom scooters we reviewed, they've carried it over and you get a relatively wide handlebar, which is perfect for control. It's important to note that you also get turn signals at the ends of the handlebars, but personally I'm not a big fan of these turn signals. I already mentioned this with the previous Ausom scooter, because if they had removed this cap, the entire end of the handlebar would light up nicely, and you could see the signal from the side as well. As it is though, there are only small windows at the front and back through which you can see the blinking. The light, I think this is unnecessary, but anyway, that's how the manufacturer designed it. We have a good wrist rest, which is really nice. The turn signal switch is also quite firm. There's a horn, and here we have a plug switch. This is because there's a 2-motor version of this scooter as well, and here you could switch on the second motor. We have a proper brake lever, which is completely standard. On the other side, you'll find the controls: minus button, plus button, walking mode, light, power button, and as I mentioned, we have NFC cards so we can start up the scooter. It's also important to point out that next to the brake lever, there's also a throttle. This throttle is a pull type operated with your index finger, which I think is better. I personally prefer it because you can control the throttle more smoothly with this type. But unfortunately, with this device, they've made the same mistake as with the other Ausom scooters, because the same mechanism is installed here as well. It's everywhere, and that's a problem because the throttle works exactly like this. I'll show you from above. If I pull it and my finger happens to slip, it can get caught right between the throttle and the brake lever. You really have to pay close attention to this while you are riding, because you won't be able to release the throttle when you want to stop, so it's a bit of a silly solution. This way, you can only safely pull the throttle with the very tip of your finger to avoid getting your finger stuck in there. Finally, I still need to show you the dashboard, which is, you probably won't be able to see much because it's the usual completely unusable display. I'm trying to cover it, shade it a bit so you can see something, but it's this totally unusable reflective thing that looks great in the dark. You'll see all sorts of data on it: battery level, distance traveled, distance from the start, total distance since the scooter was first put into operation. Everything is displayed. Basically, there are 3 speed modes: Eco, Sport, and Sport. Now this part is actually quite a bit ridiculous, because the scooter is strictly factory limited to only 20 kilometers per hour. And so even in the dedicated race mode, you can still only go 20 kilometers per hour with it. Well, that is certainly anything but a real race. But at least it is safe for the rider. There is one important thing I haven't talked about yet, and I definitely have to mention it: the impressive power of the motor, which is located in the rear wheel. This motor, at its absolute peak performance, delivers 1,400 watts. And continuously it can do 1,000 watts. This will become important in a moment when I start talking about what it was like to use the scooter. So if we take another look, you can see that it's actually a pretty cool looking device. The build quality is quite good, the material quality is good, and it somewhat resembles the angular design of the Kuckering G2, but here there are all sorts of plastic inserts to make the shape a bit more interesting. Let's quickly go over it once more. Take another look around it and really check out how it looks. I think it's totally fine and very presentable. The colors are good, the shape is good, and really everything about it is pretty great. So if you don't buy it simply because you find it ugly, I'd be really surprised, because I personally think it looks quite good. Now, let's get back to what it was actually like to use this scooter. So let's talk a bit more about the daily usage, because that's probably what everyone is most interested in hearing about. The first thing I mentioned is obviously Obviously, the battery capacity does not allow for the number of kilometers specified by the manufacturer. I always say it's worth halving the factory specification, then adding a little bit, and that will give you a roughly realistic idea. This is pretty much true for this scooter as well. So I would say you can cover about 35 to 40 kilometers with it. Obviously, that's if you don't unlock it, don't push it to the limit, and you're not constantly riding uphill. I don't like giving such figures because for others it's roughly, we use it in different environments, under different weather conditions, and we all have different body weights, so the data will vary for everyone. That's why I say that, at least for me, the rule of thumb is that you take half of the factory specification, add a little bit, and that's a pretty good estimate. As I mentioned, we have 3 speed modes: Eco, Sport, and an intermediate mode. According to the factory limitation, these correspond to maximum speeds of 10, 15, and 20 kilometers per hour. This is a bit strange during use, because if it's limited and you switch to the intermediate mode, you get the peak power of 1400 watts. So until you reach 20 kilometers per hour, you have a relatively quick, torquey, and really good machine. However, when you hit 20 kilometers per hour, it feels like the scooter just stops under you because it doesn't want to accelerate any further. But that feeling is deceptive because it only lasts until, for example, you hit an incline, since with this 1000 watt motor, even then, it's a bit of a trick. But even on the steepest hill in the area, I was able to get up in an S shape, not straight up, but zigzagging. I was able to make it up, which is something that many 800 to 1000 watt scooters can't usually do. So the motor on this scooter probably really does deliver 1000 watts or 1400 watts at peak performance. Of course, you can unlock it, but I still don't recommend anyone to do so, because these speed locks are there for a reason. I think that even in the city, you can go anywhere at 20 to 25 kilometers per hour, comfortably and safely, without feeling like you're risking your life, and you're much less likely to fall over the first curb or icy patch. So you shouldn't unlock it, but if you really can't help yourself and still want to, then read the article I wrote about the scooter. It's linked in the description on YouTube. I explained there how to unlock it. I won't go over it again in the video. But of course, I still have to share some important information with you, because after all, I need to test this scooter. So if you do end up unlocking it, you can easily reach a top speed of 40 kilometers per hour quite comfortably, or even potentially go a little bit faster than that. But let me say it again, I do not recommend it. I only tried it myself for a very short time on a closed section of road with fresh asphalt, because these 10-inch wheels are not suitable for traveling at 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, and this suspension, the chassis and this mechanical brake was simply not designed for this. So please don't try to go 40 to 45 kilometers per hour with it. Stick to 20 to 25, as that's more than enough for everything. And now let's sum up what it was actually like to use. Well, I really like this scooter. It was very good for me. I used it quite a lot here in the city, and it's very comfortable. I really like these normal dual-sided shock absorbers, and I much prefer them to the C-suspension scooters because they're much more stable and much less prone to wobbling. And secondly, they are sensitive to handlebar wobble. So in my opinion, these are still a more reliable and practical solution than the C-suspension. Obviously, they are not as trendy and they don't look as aesthetically pleasing. But if you don't want to show off and you just want to get from A to B comfortably and safely, then you should choose something like this over a C-suspension. As I mentioned, the size of the footboard is just right for me. If it were a little smaller, it would already be too small for me. So I definitely don't recommend trying to buy this scooter if you have, say, a size 50 foot, because it won't be suitable. Unfortunately, the handlebar height is not adjustable, but fortunately you get a relatively tall and wide handlebar, which provides a really great riding experience. I'm 184 centimeters tall, and this handlebar is perfect for my height. If I were 2 meters tall, I probably wouldn't like it as much, and I think it's suitable for people above about 165 centimeters. Below that, it might actually be a bit too high. So even taking these limitations and shortcomings into account, I can say that this is a good scooter. It's sold at a good price. It can be used for the long term, and it will be comfortable. And what's very important is that it will comply with the regulations that Hungarian law will require. Since it comes with handlebar end indicators, the top speed is limited and the power is 1000 watts, which means it will still fall under the category that does not require a driver's license. I definitely wouldn't consider a 1000 watt scooter to be a high performance scooter. Well, that's about it. You'll find the link to purchase it below the video. I'll also include the coupon code so you can buy it at the lowest possible price. If you have any questions, feel free to ask or comment on the video. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and do all the usual things. I'll be back in a few days with another scooter review, so make sure to come back. In the meantime, let's enjoy the heat wave. Take care and goodbye.